Hi, everybody. This is Michael Camo, Director of Content for T3 Live. I am here with Scott Redler today. We are going to be talking about topics that are kind of meant to aggravate you. You might get a little mad because we are going to talk about the world's greatest trader, and it might be Nancy Pelosi because she is perhaps the greatest analyst on Nvidia in the universe. So we're just going to get through all the slides. These are Scott's positions. But yeah, it's been a big story this year. If you guys don't know, insider trading is basically legal for Congress. They can buy stocks and whatever they want, even when they're affecting legislation in the industries that these companies operate in. So just a quick wrap up of the market while everybody gets in. The Qs are up about 3%, leading the market. IWM is lagging. Top stocks this week, Juniper got taken over, but you could see Nvidia number 4 there, up 11%, and that is a big topic of discussion for us. And if you want to get Scott's free newsletter on Monday, go to t3live.com/show. And we have just about 200 people watching so far. So guys, get those comments in, say hi, let us know what you want to, what you're thinking about everything. So Scott, this is the big question today. Is Nancy Pelosi, is she a great trader or is she the greatest trader? Because, we talked about this offline, but her highest salary in Congress was $223,500 a year, and her net worth is well over $100 million. We've seen numbers all over the place ranging from like 106 to 290, but she's worth well over $100 million. We looked at Open Secrets report on U.S. Congress members. 49 had a net worth over 10 million, 30 over 20 million, 11 over 100 million, and these numbers would be much higher today. Many of these people, they have outside businesses or they have successful spouses, but they also seem to have awfully good luck in the stock market. Christo says, good afternoon from rainy Georgia. Hi, Christo. How you doing? Glad to have you with us. So, Scott, this is the big trade everybody was talking about. So, Nancy Pelosi bought Nvidia call options on November 22nd, about a month before there's news reports hitting about an AI chip for China. And the stock's been up about $59 since then. And Nvidia is the 4th best SPX name this year. So like when we look back, when you look at your day, you're waking up at like 4:30 in the morning to go over charts and everything. You're exercising to keep your mind right and everything, and working hard every day. So how does it feel to know that these Congress people can basically trade and make laws at the same time?
Well, do I have an indemnification that if all of a sudden Washington comes after me, is like T3 going to pay my legal bills? Because I don't want to go after them too hard, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, let's take a look at Red Dog. No, I'm kidding. Well, I have nothing to hide. The bottom line is, as traders and technicians, we get to follow the blueprint of money. And thank goodness, because of social media, we get to see what some of these politicians are doing because they seem to be so smart. Either they're really smart, maybe they took Willie O'Neill's course on technical analysis and knew that there was a big chart and a big channel in the video like we did, or they knew that there was some legislation coming in that might let them sell some chips to China. Either which way, they seem to have a really good track record and they do really well. And I just don't understand how, the Washington system doesn't get fixed. Maybe because they're so powerful. I don't know. They make $175,000 a year over 10 years, and they have a net worth of $100 million. It's crazy. But you know what? My mantra is we control what we can control, right? And that's our keyboard. That's our process. We look for the blueprint of money, the best in our ability. And I'm going to do this real fast and show my chart, present my share screen. We're going to go here real quickly. And this is where we were a week ago. That's what we try and do. A week ago, right? Do we see it?
Yep, we can see it. It's beautiful.
Okay, I'm not in Washington. I'm not a congressman. I'm not a senator. But I do think what we were talking about, I feel like a lot of smart people are saying we should have how many terms for 3 terms for the House, 2 terms for the Senate, and a 6-year president. That's what I would do to do the whole system. We don't need 85, 95-year-old individuals controlling what happens in the U.S. who have been there for 20, 30 years and control legislation and can feed off the system. As far as a president, yes, 2 terms are fine, but if you do 1 term with 6 years, then as soon as they get elected, they're not looking to be reelected and campaigning. They're working for the people that they represent. So fact of the matter is, we get the Washington we deserve because we do elect them. And unfortunately, this is what we have. And we have actually like election coming up. And I think we have, President Biden, who's, I don't know, 80 plus years. And we have Trump, who is something like that too. And we can't do better than that. We can't find a 30, 40, 50-year-old individual that could, run the country. But anyway, I'm not talking about that. The bottom line is, how are they able to do what they do? I'm not in control. All I'm in control of is looking at the chart, coming up with a process, looking at the blueprint, the money, and thank goodness we could see what they do. Because if you look here at the chart of Nvidia last week at this time, this was Nvidia this Friday. We don't need to be sitting in Washington. We don't need to be looking at legislation. We need to look at charts. And we did break above 499, 504, 505, and we hit a high of 553. Still looking good, still above the 8-day moving average. This made people a lot of money, and that's my job, is to make people money, make myself money, teach people how to maneuver. As far as Washington, it gets me aggravated as hell because there's nothing we can do about it. Like, what can we do about it? I don't understand. We talked also about I actually like. What's the Wales guy? The whale, like, he watches every blueprint of all these big money guys that might know things more than us. Because we're just the normal people. I'm just a technician. I live in Short Hills. I have 1 son. I'm 51 years old. I make a good living, but I don't come from money, and I work every day. I get up every morning, like you said. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I have to figure out how to aggregate all my information so I can make my decisions, keep my mind right, and execute. And we did that this week. This week was a really good week. A lot of people made money. We also did the same thing with Microsoft. And there was some other guy that came out and bought all this Microsoft. It wasn't Nancy Pelosi. Michael, who was the guy that bought all the Microsoft that we did the tweet like 2 weeks ago?
Oh, let me pick it up.
All right, you pick it up while we look at Microsoft. Hopefully you guys made some good money in Microsoft. Microsoft was right here. Again, a chart. Nice channel. Got above 373, 377, 382, 384, went to 390, and it looks like it's going higher. But why are all these people in Washington? Why are they allowed to buy stocks? Like, they were buying Microsoft. I saw it gave me more conviction to help make me money. But they're like, we're working our tootsies off, and they get to see what's happening. There's something wrong with the system, and it takes a lot of people to change the system. And guess what? It's Friday. At 12:39, one thing you do is we have a beverage. I said my New Year's resolution was no beer, no wine. So White Claw is only 100 calories, 6 carbs versus the latter. So cheers to you guys who have had a good week. We're going to try and do this every single Friday. I'm going to try and come up with some things to look ahead so we can make some money, and we could rant a little bit about what goes on out there, because what goes on out there is pretty gross at times.
Yeah, Scott. So our lucky Microsoft buyer was Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey, but we went back and we looked at 2023, and this isn't one party or the other. Members of both parties have a long history of making quote unquote lucky trades. There were 8 members buying war stocks before the Israel-Gaza-Palestine conflict. This happened with Ukraine. People buying defense stocks and futures. People were doing this in the regional bank crisis. They were selling banks right before they collapsed. Then they were buying them right at the bottom, right before the news hit. So the funny thing is, this is all happening right in front of our faces. And every so often somebody talks about making a bill to get on top of this, but it feels like nothing. I mean, why would they shut down the world's most profitable game?
It's the gravy train. Anyone know, do you know who, you're a little younger than me. You know who Eddie Murphy is?
I'm not that much younger. Yes, I know who Eddie Murphy is. You
ever see the movie The Distinguished Gentleman? It's a great movie. Vote for Richard Jefferson Johnson, the name you know. Basically, Eddie Murphy went to to Washington, and he was a scam artist. He's like, this is the biggest scam I've ever seen. This was 25 years ago. You want to get on all these different committees and get all the people to give you money and figure out where to place yourselves, and that's why they do it. Unfortunately, I don't even know what can be done. It's above my pay grade. All I could do and all we could do, Michael, is find the blueprint of what they're doing and then look at the chart and play alongside, because we're normal people.
Okay, Scott. So I think that there's traders have a tendency to look for people to blame, because we've seen this in the past without it's hedge funds. Then it was, remember a few years ago, everybody was talking about it was HFTs and algos.
Right.
And now it's it feels like, and we've forgotten about that, and now it's like Congress is the new boogeyman. So where do you think it comes from, this urge to find somebody to blame?
Well, unfortunately, people have to start saying, if they're not having success, it's my fault. Once you say this is my fault, you're now looking to place the blame. Bottom line is, there are people out there that abuse the system, and I wish there was a means for them to get caught, and I don't wish for anyone to do poorly. And my whole frame of mind is, listen, you could have success, just work for it. But if you abuse the system, you should be penalized for it. And there are a lot of people that abuse the system. And, as a trader, everyone's always saying, hey, this is over, that's over, I can't do this because of that. I've been trading since 1997. And at first we had fractions, they were like nice big spreads. Something would break out. It was very easy to put offers higher. And then they went to decimals and, I think like 2003. And then I was like, oh, the business is over. Didn't end. Then we just went from NASDAQ 5,000 to 1,000. Then, from there, it was tough. When you do hard things, people don't like to do it. So you have to withstand it. And then from 2003 through 2008, you had a big ramp up after the Iraq war and this and that. People made a lot of money. And then you had another financial crisis. And then that was 2007, 2008. And then from there, 2012, new highs. You had the pandemic in 2020. So as distinguished, I'm not distinguished at all, I have gray hair. And, as an experienced market trader, I know that long-term the bull market does win, but it all depends on your time frame. That's why I try and go over time frames. I try and tell you every single month, put money into an S&P fund over 30 years, you're going to win. If you have a son, start as 529, or a daughter, or a transgender, I'm just trying to be politically, whatever you have, if they're going to college, you have to, you got to put away every single month, and that could, do it. But and if you trade for a living, you have to have a set of rules. A lot of people, Michael, are like, Red Dog, you don't talk about Tesla anymore. Why? Where's Elon? Elon's not, I think I threw Elon in the garbage because he's below the 821 day and then went below the 50 day and the 200 day. And meanwhile, Elon and Tesla's making new, weekly and monthly lows. And like, Red Dog, you were such a fan. I'm like, because it was acting well and it traded by my rules. I'm not a fan of Tesla or Elon. I'm a fan of my rules. You have to, as a person, as a trader, as anyone out there, you have your own set of rules, and hopefully you stick to them. So that's what gives you accountability to your actions. And Tesla has just been horrendous, and I've been trying to avoid it. Although everyone's like, hey, Tesla is here. I'm like, okay, it's broken. We've had, broken names are broken names, and you have to have the system to keep you away from them.
Okay, so we are 12 calendar days into 2020, so probably about 8 or 9 trading days. So what does the market feel like this year relative to last year?
I feel like the first week, sentiment was really high, so they had to like shake it up a little bit. We didn't know whether new money was going to come in or not, and it didn't. They wanted to bring some things in. There was some tax loss, not even tax loss. It was more like taxes or people selling so they could pay taxes in 2025 versus this April. And this week felt like it could have been the first week of the year, but they always have to shake things up. So it feels like you have a lot of the same. Mega cap is still mega cap. We had a few new highs this week, which were great. A lot of, we focused on Nvidia last Friday. I came up with a system of like what could be next. It was Microsoft, which did great. And then it was Meta that also made new move highs. Then I'm like, maybe it could be Google and Amazon. They did just fine. And then, Tesla I've avoided Can I just show you a chart of Tesla real quickly, Michael?
Of course, there's nothing I would love more than to see a chart of Tesla right now.
All right, I just want to do a little technical analysis 101 because some people like Red Dog. It's so easy to do hindsight. There is no hindsight with Red Dog. Red Dog talks about things that happen when they happen, and then it's up to you to make your changes. So if you look here at let's see, present. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do it really fast this time. Watch how fast we do this. Share screen. Where's the trend spider? Nope. Where's Tesla? Let's see. Oh, here it is. Boom. Okay, I just want to show you something. Do you guys see Tesla? Tesla. It's like Redler. Okay. Why is it? Do you see Tesla?
Yep, we're up there.
Okay, so you see this candle right here on December 28th? On 12/28, I came out. I was long Tesla. He was your Red Dog reversal. Tesla. You had an outside day that didn't really lead to anything because it was rebuilt. It took back 50% of that candlestick. Candlesticks matter. Then right here, I'm like, that was gross. That was a candle that got me out of the name. And then I would look at it, but the market told you that it was over and that you have to actively get away from it. When it went above a prior high, didn't hold. Remember the sell rules? Went red, went below a prior low. That showed power, and then closed at the dead lows. Next day, I remember it had been gapped up. Some people like, I'm shorting this, PIG. I'm not going to call it that. Then it went below 252, got below the 8-day, got below the 21-day, and then rejected ever since all the way down. So for me, I've traded it maybe twice. This was my bread and butter for 3 years. For 3 years. Same way before that, Apple's my bread. Stocks come and go. And I hate to be a fair weather friend because I'm such a good friend. I try to be such a good friend to my friends, my family. I try and coach. But in the stock market, you have to drop your loyalty. There's no loyalty in the stock market. The same way, there's no crying. Unless you're a bull long term. There's like no crying. What was that movie? There's no crying in baseball. That was, I think, Tom Hanks.
League of Their Own.
Yeah. So right here, that was the day. Now, there's a lot of crying in Tesla. Every day, Red Dog, when are you going to buy it? Red Dog, when you buy it? I'm like, same thing happened with Baba. I feel like when Baba broke, and which was a great stock for us for a while, everyone's like, when are we buying Baba? When are we buying? I'm like, guys, stop it. Just, new leaders happen, situations change. You have to refocus your focus. And P.S., at this point, would I be shorting Tesla into this 217.50 area? Look at this. This was a nice pattern. Patterns happen. And then this was a nice Red Dog reversal. And then this was it. Now we're coming to here. It's just this is a lot different than, again, Nvidia. Above all the moving average triggered right here. There you go. As traders, we have to respect the charts and respect the price action and follow the money. And although, Fancy Nancy, I'm a little upset that she got to make all the money without us. No, we were able to join in because I saw we were able to see her blueprint on there. We were able to see Microsoft's blueprint, and then we were able to use our own skill set with the charts and get in there and make money and not complain. And anyway,
and guys, so Scott actually gave the game plan for Nvidia this week for free on Monday morning in his free newsletter. If you want to get his free newsletter Monday morning with the top idea for the week, go to t3live.com/show, t3live.com/show. So,
can I say something?
Of course.
Cobblestone just asked me, he's like, do you ever trade with your gut or are you 100% charts? So, you ever hear the word feel? Traders have a feel. How do you develop a feel? You develop a feel with seat time. I've been doing this since 1997. Sometimes I could feel, it's like a Jedi Knight. You feel the force. The force is with you. As a trader, it's seat time, watching the trade, seeing the action, watching the leaders, knowing the futures, knowing what's out there, and you could just feel it. So there are some times when I can feel when something's going to break. I can feel when something's going to go. You combine that with price points from your chart patterns, and then all of a sudden, you can make a lot of money. So there is a feel and a gut instinct that happens, but it takes a long time to develop that.
Okay, Scott, what do you think of this comment from logo designer? Hours in seat creates gut calls. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's 100%. The more times you see things, the more times you can recognize them, and the more times you develop an instinct. Instincts. There was a book out there, right? What was it called? Blink. Did you ever read that book?
I did not read Blink.
All right, I read it. It's like it's a reaction. Your mind knows the right reaction. If you listen to it and it's not clouded, you should be able to, blink, figure out what's next. Know when the stock isn't acting well and you should stop out. Know when it feels like it's ready to go. So there is an instinct that you develop as a trader. It's called a feel, like a feel for the market or a rhythm for the market. But you have to, that's not going to make you money over time. You have to coordinate that and correlate that to a system and a process that you put together from early morning. Like again, I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm in my seat here at 6:20. I'm doing the 6:30 club. I'm doing 40 charts. I'm doing my 8:15 morning call. And then on 8:45, I'm doing another morning call with Alpha Team. And then I'm getting on the radio and then I'm trading. So all of this develops the feel in the gut, but it's calculated from looking at the charts and understanding the price points and rehearsing it in my head versus just, flying by the seat of my pants. I don't do that. I used to do that in college here and there.
Okay. All right. So Scott, so when you're actually trading, are there times where you buy and sell purely on that gut, or do you step back to think about it?
I don't do it on the gut. I do it around the price points. Like today, my gut was that, JP Morgan is at a weekly high. JP Morgan is the best bank, but it might be priced in. So I said to everyone out there, will it get above and stay above this level? If not, you probably have to wash your hands of it. So let's go back to the chart real quickly. That was a gut feeling. I didn't short JP Morgan, but let me just show you the chart. This was a spot right here. A lot of people are like, oh, JP Morgan's report's great. I'm buying it. I'm like, you have no idea where it came from. It's been on a tear.
Oh, so, Scott, you have to hit the present button.
I'm going there. I'm just chatting right now. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's get some more questions in the chat.
So do you have any? Morgan. So if you look at my Twitter, I said 173.60 was the line in the sand. You have to identify the line in the sand, whether it gets above and stays above, it continues or fails. And right here, it got above, couldn't hold. So if you were long it after a huge move, wasn't a bad report, but it was priced in. Then you go to the weekly chart and you look here, and I talked about this too. That I posted, said 173, 174. So I said JP Morgan is trying to clear its all-time high area. See if it can hold above. Wow, best bank. This is the weekly chart. What did it do? Wasn't enough. Is it still above the 8-day? Is it still constructive? Yes, but short term, if you bought JP Morgan today, you got hurt. Long, actively, if you faded it and it didn't hold 173, 174, and you looked at the daily chart, you made money. And now, does it hold here or not? So my gut was it was not going to hold it. And then the market confirms what your gut says, combining with charts, and you have to put it all together. And that's how you make a living.
Okay, so Scott, so we just kicked off earnings season with the banks today. The banks came a long way off those October lows, and it seems like they're all mixed up today. So do you think can we glean anything for earnings season from this?
Not really. I just think that the banks had a big move November, December, price for perfection. So we have to think about that when we get to some of the big mega cap Mag 7 names, because depending where they are, they have to really, really be good to continue. So it might be hard for them to get excessive moves above wherever they are. We have to figure that out. We have 2 weeks until everything's different. Tesla is going to be so oversold. All they have to do is say something kind of decent. It might get an oversold bounce. Whereas Netflix, just made a new weekly and monthly high yesterday. So everything is different. So you can't really just take thoughts from one situation and apply it to another. You have to see what stock are you trading, what is the street expecting, and then is there a surprise? So you look at Tesla. When Tesla comes out, it's been battered and bruised. If all of a sudden it's decent, it might get an oversold bounce. When Netflix comes out, it had a big move. So is it priced in? How good is that report going to be? Can it be sustained? And then you look at the price action to see. So like Citigroup. So let me I just want to take a look. Citigroup.
Yeah, Scott, make sure you got to
I'm
share
gonna
your
share.
screen. Yeah,
I'm
next time you're done sharing, don't remove it from the stage. Just let me take care of it. I'll keep it all up so you can go back and forth faster.
There you go. So here's Citigroup, right? So they were actually really, look at the size of this move in Citigroup. Citigroup's been left for death. Do you see that? Then they came out and they talked about their write-offs like a day or so ago. Came in, held it 21 day, and then today they kind of brought down the expectations and filled the gap and had a good move. It wasn't up here. If they were up here and all of a sudden they came out and they talked about, their write-offs and some of the things that, that were a little bit disappointing after a big move, it would have been different. They brought down their expectations. So it's all about expectations and where it came from. So JP Morgan didn't say a word and it's trading an all-time high. It's very hard for it to make new highs. So let's see what Netflix is real quickly today. Netflix, Netflix had a really big move. And, yesterday you had a bit of a doji, right? And it's trading near prior highs. So we're going to see where does it hold in order for it to get above 503, which is, this was the last, here, look at the last report. So here expectations were like down there. And then you had a huge gap up because there was no expectations. Now at a weekly and monthly high, expectations are different. So earnings season is about where is your stock, what are the expectations, and is it a likely setup that's conducive for you to put money behind it. Down here, it was priced for nothing, and then that happened. And then it turned into a really good active trade because you had a pro-earnings gap, and it continued. Up here, Netflix, which comes out first, right? Netflix, if you look here, Netflix comes out with earnings on the 23rd. What do we now? We still have some time. It's going to have to be a lot different. So when you play earnings season, you really need to know, where did your stock come from? What are the expectations? And is there a setup where you can make money with options? Because sometimes you could be right and you lose because the setup's not great. All right, take it off.
Okay, so Scott, so big picture in terms for earnings season, like the market is dead flat to start the year. The Qs and the SPYs, they're basically flat so far this year. Yeah, they're basically, I think it might be
came back to where we were from the
So they're basically, so do you think we have enough new information or is it basically going to be just stock by stock this earnings season?
Stock by stock is good. It's good to be able to pick situations that can make you money where it's not like a correlation of one where everything's up or everything's down. That's a pain in the TUS apostrophe H. Anyway, do you have the Qs up there?
Yes.
The Qs right now, corrected, like you said. They brought down sentiment, came right back up. It's going sideways. We'll see how it goes. My macro guys, I aggregate. Like you asked me, like, what do I do from 4:30 in the morning? I aggregate all my most smartest people I know out there, and I try and put it all in one spot, and I make decisions off that. They're still thinking that this quarter's earnings are going to be a little light, but we still have disinflation, and we still have rates that went from 5 point something to 4%, and we're just about at all-time highs, and it's been a bunch of months since we made those, so they're thinking that this earnings season won't be great, but there will be some what is it called in the ruffle? Diamonds in the ruffle. It's our job to find those. Like Apple hasn't done anything in 3 weeks, so those expectations are low. Obviously, Nvidia is going to be high. Microsoft is going to be really high. Google and Amazon, they had nice moves, but they're still not at the all-time high. So every expectation is different heading into earnings. So you need to know where your stock was, what kind of option strategy you want to take, and how to go about it. There are some things that aren't even worth it. Like this isn't a good setup. So you wait post earnings to figure out how to then go about it. But at this point, the narrative is that inflation's coming lower, not as fast as we thought, because the CPI told us that yesterday, so we have to get more data. And the question is, did the Fed do their job well enough to bring things down, but how much did they bring them down? And we're going to find that out during earnings season. So I think this earnings season is going to be like pretty lukewarm and just a matter of where the stock is and did it get ahead of itself.
Okay, all right. Let's shift gears a little bit in terms of like expectations and things getting ahead of themselves. I want to talk about we just got nuked with like 28 new Bitcoin ETFs either yesterday or the day before.
Oh, I don't like that word nuked. Nuked is a bad word. We don't want any nukes in there. Nuke. No more. No more nuked.
Okay.
Blasted. Blasted's okay. Nuked is just disaster word.
Okay. Well, don't tell that to all the uranium longs today because those stocks are going wild. Okay, but Bitcoin. So Bitcoin stocks got as soon as the Bitcoin ETFs launched, Bitcoin fell apart. Mara and Coinbase all like went to crap. So like, what are you thinking the story is with crypto now?
Okay, let me get to this real quick. So whenever you have something so telegraphed, it's very noisy. And whenever you have something like a Bitcoin that from the last year went from 25,000 to 45,000, some things are usually priced in. You know, did it seem so easy to sell the news? It did. And so that's why it was so hard to do. And they did sell the news. Bottom line is I think Bitcoin is going to be an asset that if you're an asset allocator, you need to have in your, what is this, the pie chart? If this is a pie and you have, 60% equities, 20% bonds, 10% gold, you should have 10% Bitcoin in there if you put monthly flows. If you trade for a living, you got to be careful. And I don't want you to get caught up in these altcoins because whenever you get into a downdraft, these altcoins could fall apart and they hurt and they get crushed. But you could follow momentum moves the same way. So the bottom line is, I'm going to show you the chart of Bitcoin. It just moves faster. Like I was so involved with Bitcoin the last few years and I made really good money, and then it got really sloppy, especially when all those things start to go to zero. So I'm going to share my screen one more time here. So this is Bitcoin. Okay, so I have the same rules that I have with most stocks. Okay, so what did Bitcoin do? It got approved. You had Kathy Wood saying 500,000, which is irresponsible over however long, whoever it was. Bottom line is I do think that Bitcoin has a use. There will be countries that use it as legal tender. I personally have a Coinbase credit card and I use it. It's cash, it's money. They don't want it to be crazy because you have to be able to like figure out where it is and exchange it. Ultimately, actively, it broke the 8-day. It pushed above 47.9. Didn't hold it. So actively, if you were trading Bitcoin, that was your out. Today, you had downside follow through. And now Bitcoin breaks this spot. It could be in a corrective process. Look where it came from. So what is your time frame on crypto? I would only trade I would only accumulate Bitcoin long term, and I would trade the altcoins, and maybe you could accumulate Ethereum long term. But Bitcoin, it just got, anytime you hear something on TV 8 times, it's on the media, it's usually a sell. And we heard this 20 times an hour about the ETFs. Now, a lot of people like Red Dog, when I was around when gold created the GLD, and it was also the same type of situation, and then gold wound up making historic highs. Do I think 49.1 is the high of this year? Probably not. You look at the weekly chart. Look at that topping tail, by the way. Technically, it looks like a short-term topping tail. That's a topping tail right there, and it hasn't even corrected. If you want to do a weekly chart, this looks like it's ready to go down towards 40 or 37-ish, which could be good. I mapped out 55 and 69. This is your weekly chart in Bitcoin. Bottom line is they sold in. As far as the crypto stocks, none of them made a high when Bitcoin did. So what do we call that? Negative divergence. So that means be careful, right? What was that movie with it was Austin Powers? What was that guy? That was Mr. Evil. I'm not Mr. Evil. I'm Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil. Anyway, that was a great movie. If you haven't watched it, you're watching this, you're 25, 30 years old, and you never saw Austin Powers, you better watch all of them. They were the best. In college, we quoted them all the time.
Yeah, Austin Powers could not be made today, so go enjoy it.
So anyway, So bottom line is, look at this. This hit 49,000 in Bitcoin right there on January 11th. When was January 11th? Yesterday. What did coin do yesterday? It was not at 187. It tried to get through 161, which is a lower high. That is a negative divergence. That means be careful. And now look at that. Mara also. Coin, miner, this and that. It went as high as 31. Tried to get through 26.88. What did it not do? Get above and stay above. It failed. And now look at it. So there's always a signal and a sign if you look at the chart and you understand technicals versus listening to everybody in Discords or wherever the hell they talk. The charts will tell you a lot more. You have a lower high here. It failed to hold there, and boom. So there are signs out there if you listen to them and you know how to connect all the dots. Listen, I could have shown. I'm just not trading them. I lost a little bit of money in here too. I was trying it, but then once it failed, I'm like, you know what? I have other things I got to do. I got to trade Nvidia. I got to trade, Microsoft. I got to trade Amazon, this and that. I can't be lost in Mara, coin, and Bitcoin land. I'll wait until until the dust settles. Same way with JP Morgan. Now you have to wait for the dust to settle because it broke out and failed.
Okay. All right. Okay, Scott, in the future, don't hit take off stage with your charts because it's better to leave them up. So this way you don't have to take them off and add them back. Okay. All right. So,
by the way, is anyone having a beverage? Am I the only one?
I have my coffee, but yeah, anybody out there, what is your drink? Post your drink in the chat.
Come on, Mario. What you got?
Yeah, give him. Yes.
Tony Wallace, I miss you, by the way. Tom Lee says 100,000. I think we could have 100,000 also, but like 3 years from now. By the way, Tony's the man. Tony is an educator. I've been interacting with him for a bunch of time. I feel bad that my 630 club, I can't talk to people. We're going to change that. We're going to try and change the whatever it is, the resource we use to disperse the 630 club on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram to a better scenario. So this way we could chat in the morning. I like to chat with everyone. I sit here by myself in the short hills in the office, and I want to talk to my friends around the world, my dogs around the world. And Tony, you've always been one of them. I appreciate you. Cheers.
Yes. So we have Jen is drinking water, Mark is drinking scotch, and Jaswant is drinking mango lassi. Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments. Okay, Scott. So I sort of have a philosophical question about Bitcoin. I feel like I'm going to offend some of the gold people, but
be careful.
Do you think Bitcoin is going to end up as sort of a gold-like religion? Because I know with the gold people, they tell you that inflation is good for gold. Then 10 minutes later, deflation is good for gold. Do you think Bitcoin has that sort of like religion feel to it?
I feel like it's the digital gold. I'm not saying anything new. I'm not saying anything like earth-shattering. All I know is that, the 30-somethings and below, they grew up with Bitcoin. The 40-year-olds and above grew up with gold. And I do think there is a function for both of them. Gold has been acting well also. Gold's feels like it's about to make historic highs within the next 1 to 3 months. So there's a place for everything. I do think that, again, Bitcoin, there's a use. You could transfer it around the world. It's not like dollar, yen, Aussie, this, like there's no, it's Bitcoin. There is obviously a little exchange fees, but you could use it. It's money. It's flashy. There's some coolness to it, and people know it from age. Like my nephew Ryan, he's 26 years old. He's been trading Bitcoin since he's 14. He hasn't been trading gold. So it's about attention also, and it's about comfortability. And I do think that Bitcoin will be something that in 10 years from now will be an appreciated asset from here, but I'm not trying to pump it like 500,000 or this or that. All I know is it's a little ahead of itself. Technically, it could use a little bit of time, but if you want to put monthly money into it every single month, it should make you money. And if you trade it actively for a living, just use your moving averages rules. Every asset class follows technicals. Some move faster than others. Some are slower than others. So get to know the feel of it and you can make money doing that as well.
Okay, guys, we're going to wrap up in a little bit. We're going to take a few more questions, but I encourage you, get Scott's free newsletter. It comes out every Monday morning with his top ideas to start the week. Go to t3live.com/show. It's also in the description of the video. You get Scott's SPX analysis. You get actionable analysis on 3+ other names. And it's free every Monday morning, t3live.com/show. Last week's issue had the plan to play Nvidia over 505, and it went to 550 something. And again, this is free, t3live.com/show. So Scott, we have a few more questions before we wrap up. So Tobias says, apart from charts, do you trade off the tape?
Yeah, I'm a full-fledged tape watcher. I started in 1997 in Daytech. I have level 2s everywhere. You want to see some level 2s? Actually, I don't know if they go on the screen. Like, I have level 2s everywhere because I also have ADHD, so I need to be like really engaged. So I have 6 monitors. On one monitor, I have 8 level 2s, like price action. Back in the day, before all this technology, the people would make a living looking at the ticker go by on whatever network they were watching and seeing things come by a few more times than other times. And that's how they made the decisions. It's amazing how people made money their entire career. For me, I use a little bit of everything. Every year is different. Every tape is different. Every sequence is different. You need to recognize it and you need to go with it. You can't fight it. You can't have opinions. You can't be like, oh my God, the deficit's going so crazy right now. I need to short the S&P, 3 months ago, and now we're at highs and you're wishing for bad news. You have to play the trends and you have to think about everything at once. And how do you do that? By thinking clearly, having your routine and having your process. How do I do that? I get that up early. I'm in the sauna. I am sweating it out. I'm going to my ice barrel every day. I do these things not to be showy. I do it because that's what I need. So if it works for me, I'm just trying to show you things that work for me that could work for you. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to lead by example in some form. And you don't have to take the exact form. Just take a little bit. And I do see that it works. And I see people very appreciative. And I love that. That's what feeds my motivation, is by having people say, hey, Red Dog, I got a ice barrel. Hey, Red Dog, I got a puddle I jump in. Whatever they do, everyone has different kinds of means. So I just want you to just figure out what it is for you that makes you feel good so you can think clearly and execute with confidence with your process and routine. And if you do that, you can take small steps that will lead to much bigger ones and get you where you want to go.
Yeah, Scott, do you know the because it's is, I'll put his comment on the screen. So it's is our favorite fan of T3 Live. He is absolutely our number one in the entire universe. Scott, do you know the Bruce Lee quote? Be water.
I do. Be water. Take its form. Be water. Be water. You ever see the old school Chinese movies where like they're like speaking like Chinese and like it basically take form of whatever it is you're trying to do. So you mold to the water, feel the water, run with the water, don't fight the water. Same thing with the market. I was watching actually the national championship game on what was it, Monday night? It was Michigan, Washington State, and you could like feel momentum. You could feel when it changes if you're there. You can't touch it, you can't hold it, but momentum is something that could be felt if you're paying attention enough, and you could feel the switch. And if you could feel the switch when momentum happens, you can go with it versus fighting it. Don't fight momentum. And how do you measure momentum? I use moving averages. And then how do you use that? And I use 20 other things. It's not that simple. It's all different for everyone. So, I love it. Has a lot of energy, and he's always there. And I feel like hopefully we add value for him. And, be water. Be with the market. Don't fight the market. Go with the market. Sometimes the market's extended and it's not worth it. Sometimes you have compelling spots. Sometimes it's special. It's your job. You don't have to always be in it. This is your keyboard. Control your keyboard. And take the right choices in the right situations. That's all you could do. And then if you miss something, don't go after it. Don't be stubborn. Don't try and figure out, don't revenge. Revenge is not good. Unless somebody does something really bad to you, then freaking kill them. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. But Just there's a lot of things you could do that you're in control of, and just take control and accountability. And if you do that and you don't do the blame game and blame the market or blame Nancy Pelosi, you know what? Use her information. She bought Nvidia 3 weeks before Nvidia broke above 505. That other congressman bought Microsoft well before it broke above, three, whatever that was. What was the price of Microsoft? 273 and 277. No, what was Microsoft's price? No, 373 and 377. So use your resources. Be upset, and hopefully we can make a change, but use it to your advantage so you could execute and provide a living for your family so you guys could enjoy yourselves. And I think what we say, Michael, when we started the year, I'm like, make memories and money.
That's the goal.
The goal is to make memories and money. But if you make money without memories, money means nothing. My mom, who actually has cancer right now, she's been fighting it for 2 years. She's 60 pounds less. So she's going on a cruise today for 2 days to play mahjong with her 80-year-old cousin or other cousin. I'm like, Mom, you're out of your mind. She's like, I feel up to it. I'm going to go play mahjong. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make another memory. I'm like, okay, so make another memory, make memories. Otherwise, money and everything else doesn't matter, but be smart. I'm like, Mom, don't be like, going in the hot tub and playing in the pool and doing whatever, play a little mahjong. And if you want to go to the casino and do some slots, do so, but bring your oxygen with you. She's like, I got this. Okay. I'm not going to stop you.
You know what, Scott, if she's made it this far,
let
her keep on going. You have nothing to say. How are you going to stop her?
It's not my job. She's 78 years old. All I could do is get there as much as I can so I can spend time with her. So, it's no regrets there.
All right, we're getting a lot of very kind comments from our friends. Mario, Tony, logo designer. Logo designer is becoming a new super fan of ours, so we're gonna follow him on Twitter. Yes.
I actually reached out to my dad today. I did. I said, Dad, what do you think about Mom going on the cruise? She's like, she wants to go. Same way on Thanksgiving. She wasn't supposed to travel. And she's like, why am I not coming to Thanksgiving? I'm like, because you have cancer and you lost 60 pounds and you have an oxygen tank. She's like, well, this might be my last Thanksgiving. I'm like, I'm not going to stop you. And she came and she got watched Chase play basketball and hung out. And my dad carved the turkey. And, you just got to do things that you got to do. Otherwise, you run out of time. Time is the most precious commodity you have. Use it. Don't waste it.
Yeah, I will say this. I've lost both my parents, and it's very big when they still have fight in them, and when they still fight with you because they want to do what they want to do. I will say that's only a good sign.
All right, let's go. I'm done here.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back again next Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Scott, always a pleasure. Okay, guys. Great seeing you all. We'll be back next week. Have a wonderful weekend.